Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Crypto News. Today, we're talking about the Heather Ann Tucci-Jarrif case. Also, we're going to be talking about the Randall Keith Beane case, the current updates as of today, October 18th, 2017. We have a recorded phone call with BZ. Also on the phone call is going to be with Katie, Lisa, and Judy, who were all present at the hearing today. They're going to give their input and provide the first impressions on exactly what took place. Later on, we're also going to be having a recorded phone call with BZ and Heather Ann Tucci-Jarrif to give also her impressions of the court hearing that took place today, October 18th, 2017. So without further introduction, let's get started.
Hi. Okay. So it's October 18th, 2017, and I'm speaking with Katie, who was in the courthouse in Tennessee Eastern District Court with the hearing that just went on with HATJ and RKB. So tell us what you heard, saw, and felt.
Hey, BZ. So I've got Lisa here with me. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, the beginning of the hearing, Randy was there as well. Heather did most of the talking in the beginning. And I guess first Shirley asked, what was he asking? He was wanting to know about the precipice, and he was asking, oh, sorry, now they're cutting the lawn over here. Go figure. He was talking about the precipice and was asking Heather questions in regards to that. And he asked if, which I thought was interesting, if she had authority to order the court to perform what was in the precipice. And so it kind of was just, I mean, they went around in circles and circles. There was a lot of mockery that I felt was done. So you could tell that both Judge Shirley and the United States, the attorneys, that they were very just uncomfortable in the whole situation. And I mean, basically Heather just wanted to know if they had any authorization to be able to have jurisdiction over them, if they had proof that because of now where we're at that they are responsible for showing the burden of proof, and they didn't have anything to provide her. And so I'm trying to think of anything else specifically that I'm leaving out. Lisa, can you think of anything?
For me, I like to speak to the energetics of the situation.
Yep.
And I really felt as though it was taken seriously. There was a lot of, like you said, mockery. They were poking fun at how ridiculous things sound. And to me, I could see a lot of cognitive dissonance. The truth that Heather was stating were just winging over everybody's head, and they were sticking very closely to not necessarily a script, but what they believe to be the truth of the matter. Even,
you know, it's funny that you say script because it sounded it sounded extremely rehearsed to me. Yeah, it was. I mean, it was very rehearsed. Everything that Shirley first started talking about when the defense went up there to talk, basically they were just reiterating the same thing that he had said. Like, yeah. And just one part that I found very interesting was that Heather specifically asked Judge Shirley what happens whenever their clerks file anything, where that paperwork goes, like what happens to it. And he, said, I don't know. And so she told him. She was like, well, it goes to this person, then it goes to that person, then it goes to this person, and then it goes to the Federal Reserve and is then monetized and looked at by JP Morgan. And I think that they just don't have the understanding. They can't comprehend that because they don't understand the system as well as they.
And it seemed like they're concerned about crazy acting now. Oh, so we're going to say that there are no courts and there's no authority, and he wanted to point out how silly it all was.
And
Shirley wanted to point out how silly the concept that Heather was trying to bring forward.
Yes.
Yeah. But he didn't.
Okay.
But he didn't address. Did he address any of the? I mean, Heather didn't just write a little letter that said, "Hey, I'm the Queen of Africa," and that's an inside joke if people have been following OPPT. I'm the Queen of Africa, purported Queen of Africa, and I just say these things. I mean, it's case law because it's standing law. It's unrebutted. Did Shirley address any of the specificity and particularity in the actual precipe, which gives all of those details and evidence? That's what a precipe does.
Well, right, and BZ, what they kept trying to say was that there was no, what do they call it? Not a justification. Is that what they call a justification?
Precedent?
The document? No, they said they needed was it a justification? The term they wanted to specifically say something on a judgment. That's what they wanted. They wanted it to specifically say judgment on the filings, and they didn't want to accept the fact that if you due notice of the filings and all of that, and they don't rebut it, that is itself
a judgment.
A judgment. Yes. And so they kept. I mean, he did not like that the paper just didn't specifically say judgment, even though it was referenced throughout the Declaration of Facts. He kept calling.
It seems to me to highlight the fact that nobody really understands how the system works and what is actually happening, and it just kept. So he was going through almost line by line her recipe.
Yeah.
And
great. Let me stop you for 1 second. Let me stop you for 1 second. So in your feeling sense, because they're judges and they actually have a bill of services that they can look through and they call up for when they're charging different things. That they actually know. They might not know, quote unquote, or want to tell you that they know the rest of it, but those things, that's just common way practice is done. If you're a judge at the level judge that these people are, they know the menu of services and they know how the charging's going. So what I want you to all feel into is when you're looking at this with a slightly different perspective. So they know how that works. Can you parse out if they were not willing to, in a linear term, fess up to the fact of knowing? Or was, so in other words, the scripting that you may have been seeing may have been how to sort through all of what is so and what they know and how they could pick their words carefully to only reveal some things.
Yes.
Right, and they were playing again. I mean, even I know, like I read through the detention hearing, they were playing on words. They were trying to catch Heather to say, specifically get her to say certain things, and she stands strong on what the truth was and not what they were perceiving it to be. And I think what I find interesting too is Heather mentioned that it's like a jolting. Like they're she said right before you a spirit leaves the body, like you're jolting into it, and so they're just now this is them like jolting and trying to figure out like what's going on. Like they're in shock right now from just everything in general, and they're trying to process what's happening. So just knowing that and just trying to help them through that, I think is what we're trying to just keep going at this point.
Absolutely, because their higher selves are now flowing into their bodies. There's no place to run and hide now.
Right.
They actually have an deep inner knowing of what's going on. And so the cognitive dissonance is between their ego self and their true selves coming in. And remember, too, that they work in this whole system. And so there also is fear on a lot of levels, not only because, there's all this revelation coming on, but there's fear when they walk out the door. They're still playing their role, and who's going to whack them when they walk out the door?
Yep.
The back door,
their
back door.
Yeah.
So lots of love to them is really helpful.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, and what did they have was there any standing on the disposition of Randall?
No, they tied everything together. I know that specifically he made a couple statements because the defense said that they called both Heather and Randy sovereign citizens, and so Randy did, dispute that and make it clear for the record that that is not what's happening. That's not, it's an oxymoron in itself, which is what Heather pointed out. And so, that was the main thing that Randy wanted to add in there. And I found it really interesting too. He specifically said, I guess in one of the other hearings, Judge Shirley had asked him if he is God, and then that's why, he's able to do what he wants to do. And then so Randy actually just rephrased the question right back to him, and he was like, well, so are you saying you're God and that you have jurisdiction over, and that you can control, my being and everything in regards to me? And I feel like he kind of just like played it off. Like I don't feel like he really gave a concrete answer to that. But
well, yeah, because he was surprised because he'd beaten Randy down
right.
in the last hearing, and Big Randy showed up today.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
like.
and he was like, hold on, I have something I need to say. Like he was like really quick, like hold on, I have a comment to make to that.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, it was great. It was really good. It was really good. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, and what was the demeanor reaction from the prosecution? And were all of them there? Was the lead prosecutor there, or just her second?
So it was
the two girls and a man, and then
two males.
Parker Still.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that table.
Davidson, I can't remember her first name.
And I heard it 19 times.
I know. Literally,
Cynthia
Heather
Davidson.
said their names so many times, and of course we can't remember them.
Yeah, Cynthia Davidson, and
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and Salvato was the second. She was the one who wrote the opinion to the in the response. And
okay.
but what I want to know is, hang on one second here. So was Nancy Stallard-Haar. She's the lead U.S. attorney prosecutor. So she wasn't even there. Is that what you're saying? There were only two prosecutors, Cynthia Davidson and Anne-Marie Salvato.
Yes.
Yeah. Nancy Stallard-Haar was not present.
I don't think so.
No.
No,
because the only other two females were the ones that worked for the courts. There was a woman that was, transcribing it, and then another woman up in the front near Judge Shirley. Or there's three. Yeah, there's three up there, but they were all, they all worked for the courts. There was no one else on the prosecution that was there. Yeah.
Okay. So that means that the head United States prosecutor was not, for Knoxville, the USAO, was not present, which is very interesting. So she just sent her 2 second chairs there, and she didn't arrive.
Yep. Yeah. Basically.
Okay. I think that's very telling. And when I speak with Heather later and put that live, we'll hear more about that. But good. Okay. And what was your sense too of Parker Still? Anything you can relay to people about Parker? Did he ever say anything, or was he just sitting there?
Honestly, I don't even know which one was him. I don't know what's wrong. But they didn't say anything. Like they were very quiet the whole time.
And it's very quiet, except for before the judge came in. Those girls were giggling like hyenas, and I almost wondered if it was nervous laughter or cocky.
I think it was both. Like they kind of had that arrogance to them, I feel like. But you could tell that they were very, very on edge during it. I was having to watch them when they were like drinking water, like they were shaking pretty bad. So you can tell they were definitely on edge, but they were trying to put a different face on for it. Yeah, for sure.
So take us to the last few moments, if you can recall. What was kind of the wrap-up? I would imagine Judge Shirley was one of the last, if not the last, to speak. And what was the sense, the energy read you got of each of the prosecutors, Judge Shirley and Still, as they all ended the particular proceedings and the gavel came down?
For me, I felt a huge sense of relief, like a And he even got a little, he was a little more lighthearted because he had made reference to the fact that, you know, Heather was using different terminology than he's accustomed to. He's not ruling on emotion, but yet and still he was going to take this under advisement. And he seemed more lighthearted at the end.
Yeah.
And like, okay, so this is done. It
was really surprising in that what he did was he said, well, I think we need to take a break or whatever, recess. And I was expecting him to say, we'll come back after an hour, whatever. But he didn't. He said, we'll reconvene at the next date scheduled. And I have to do a ruling one way or the other, whether it's from an order or any of this. I got to do some sort of ruling, and that was really it. Collecting papers. That was it. And then they called. We all came out, including Heather, and then they called her back in because she got a notice at 9:00 last night that she needed to do a drug test before getting here in the morning. She wanted to get out an hour early, which is why she contacted them in the first place to say, can we leave an hour early so that we can get there in time? Because I've got some filings to do beforehand and some copies to get made. And they got back to her and said nothing about that, and that you need to come in before you even go there. And no, you can't get out early, but you have to come by and get drug testing. And so that was a little freaky. But it all worked out. She ended up not having to do it until afterwards, so they brought her back down. And personally, I was a little worried she wasn't going to come back up because I didn't know what his ruling was going to be. But she comes out with her elbow counsel and just as jovial as always, because she knows a lot more about what's going down than most of us have a clue. Because it's happening on so many different levels. I've learned so much in this last 6-8 weeks with her, and I'm still processing a lot of it. And half a day, there are weeks and weeks that I spent most of the time just sleeping so that my body could integrate part of what was being transmitted. Let's just put it that way. Right, exactly. But she just sees what she's saying, and what I noticed that she was saying, that she really, really feels for everybody, because she knows that this whole thing is kind of in the last throes. It's like before somebody transitions over, it's like this not wanting to let go of the body because there's a fear of what's coming up, even though what's coming up is full alignment with all that is. There's this last shuddering, and that's kind of what everything is going through. Every bit of creation is going through right now, and so she sees that in all of them, and her heart is just wide open, and that's where her consideration is, along with everybody else.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what I say. It's very important if people want to move this along, and someone says, well, where's the end? Where's the answer? What did they rule? Well, one of the best ways to do that is for everybody to open their hearts, for them all to integrate and have this awakening, and then send love and energy to aid. They have, Judge Shirley and the rest have to do it themselves, but to aid them in allowing that heart opening and that integration. And that will get you what, each individual wants, or they think they want, is to get an answer to this court case quicker.
And that's what I think a lot of us were doing when we were in there. I know I was, and then when I came out, I found myself doing energy work on the grounds here. There are a lot of circles around here. And then I started moving my hands. I'm going, what am I doing? And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Okay. And what I felt was that this was a merging of what we would consider dimensional frequencies, but it's the dissolving of the barriers between them and the full integration of all of that. That's what I was gathering when I was allowing myself to be a conduit for whatever was going on there. It makes perfect sense.
Right. And what did Judge Shirley, he said he needed to take it under advisement, and so that he can basically review it. He's actually, read between the lines. I got to get someone to tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And did he give specify a date?
Pardon?
Did he specify a date?
Yeah, the next scheduled court date, which is in January.
That's not 30
Heather,
days.
No, I didn't hear anything about 30 days.
No, the 30 days is for the press. He has 30 days to respond.
Oh, yes.
Or put the recipe in the record. Like,
gotcha.
That's his role. So Heather believes what she said.
Well, she really feels like it's not going to go until then, and that he's got to figure out a way of what he really does need to do with all of this and how he's going to handle being the one to do all of this. That's a massive responsibility to be the guy to make any kind of release or ruling or whatever it is that he decides to do, and he doesn't want to do it in front of a courtroom of people, I imagine.
No.
Right. Well, and as he said, as he's on record saying in his interview, is that he's been led by God to he never sought out being a judge, and he certainly didn't seek out being the chief magistrate judge, and he's been in training all of his life to be where he is right this moment.
Right. And just at the time he's ready to give it all up, which is kind of perfect as well.
Yep.
But I think he's having a really difficult, like anybody would, I imagine, who is so steeped in something that they believe to be true for so long, and that everybody else around them believes to be true, and he's hearing things, and he's got to look into that. That undo everything he thought he ever stood for as far as the law was concerned. So, it's not
as far as everything, because it's a koan. It's a really great example of a koan, which means your brain kind of explodes because everything you thought was so is really not so. Right.
Right.
Okay, and there was no discussion of Randy's disposition?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Okay, well, perhaps they can he and his elbow can make a motion now to, get that he wait.
I'm not sure you can make a motion because that would be actually admitting that the system is actually legitimate. So it's more about the precipice. That's what there was so much discussion about the precipice itself because it was an order, and he was like, "Who are you to order me? And what gives you the authority to tell me that I got to show you my authority?" And that everybody else always comes in and almost everybody, he said, comes in and makes motions, and you're not doing that. You're giving me an order.
Yes.
So here's Patricia. She's coming up. You might want to say hello to her. I'm not sure if she wants to talk, but that's Randy's cousin.
Yes.
Okay.
Tell Patricia that I'm on the phone, and if she that I'm recording. If she wants to talk, that's great.
If you'd like to come over. BZ is on the phone, and she just wanted you to know that she'd like to speak with you if you wanted to. Yeah. All right.
Okay. She said she'll call you later, BZ.
Okay, that's what I figured. All right, cool. Okay, well, thank you guys. I'll put the recording up. Anything last thoughts you want to add?
Nope, I think that was everything. Thanks, Judy, for wrapping. You wrapped it up very nicely.
Great. I appreciate it. I love you guys, and we'll all start sending.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
I love
great
you too.
expansive energy.
All right. Grateful, thoroughly grateful for everything that you are and that you do.
Me as well, to you. Bye-bye. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.